I will call this meeting, facilities meeting to order. Do we want to take a roll call?
Yes.
Okay.
Legislators Cody,
Here?
Tassone,
Here.
Hume,
Here.
Bush,
Here.
Irvin.
Present.
5 present, none absent.
Okay. I feel like my video's frozen, but that's okay. I'm not going to pay any attention to that. Is there a motion to waive the reading and approve the minutes of the last meeting?
Move.
Thank you, Linda.
Second.
Thank you, Mary. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, thank you. First on our agenda, we have the Onondaga County Public Library. I'm not sure who's here. Is there someone here from the library for item 1?
Deb, why don't we move that to the bottom of the agenda, and I'll make a phone call over there to see if there's someone that's maybe got delayed or something to come on and talk about that.
Okay.
Go ahead and move on to parks.
Making sure somebody wasn't muted or something. Okay, sounds good. We will move over to parks, item number 2, and I did see Brian Kelly here.
Hi, everyone. How you doing this morning?
Pretty well, thank you.
Good, good. Yeah, we've got, you can see we've got 3 items here today, all revolving around, capital projects and infrastructure. First one on the list is a resolution for, to accept or for $300,000 to go towards our boat ramp at Oneida Shores. Last year, we received $320,000 for this project, and this remaining $300,000 will allow us to complete the project. It was bid out last year, and we got a price from some engineers, and the price we got was $320,000. Bids came back in about the $550,000 range, actually, for this job. So now, with last year's 320 and this year's 3, we'll be able to move forward and complete that project.
Okay, sounds good. So Oneida Shores, yeah, I do remember going through that and the issues that they were having out there with that ramp. I just lost my screen here. I don't know what I'm doing on this thing. I should just go on my Does anybody have any questions?
I have a question, Deb.
You know what? I'm gonna. Sorry, I'm losing it here. Does any, are there any questions on this Oneida Shores? I don't know what I did. Can they hear me? I was trying to.
Deb, can you hear me, Deb?
I can hear you, Deb.
Deb seems to be frozen.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm down at the legislature with Deb. Maybe I'll have her just come in and use my computer. That'll be easier.
Yeah, that'd be good.
I have a question regarding the way the resolution is worded. It talks about if there's funds available from the 2020 budget, they'll use those funds instead of bonding. Am I understanding that correctly?
Ken, I'm not sure about the wording on how the resolution reads, but yes, last year we received $320,000, and that wasn't anywhere near enough to complete the job. When the engineers gave us a price. That's what we used. The bids came back in about the 550, between 550 and 600,000. So with the 320 from last year and then the 300 this year, that'll allow us to do the project. In terms of how that's written, I'm not so sure on that.
Yeah, well, they talk about if there is funds left over, basically from the 2020 budget, that they can use those funds to offset bonding. And my take is that if there's funds left over from the 2020 budget, why wouldn't they be used for programs that were cut in the 2021 budget? I had no problem with your presentation and the bonding aspect of it, but I just was concerned that they're using unexpended funds from this last year's budget that was then, instead of moving forward to help.
Yeah, that's definitely not the case. That was 320,000. I mean, if there's anything, and who knows, the cost of materials could go up. We'll have $620,000, send this thing out to rebid last year. If it was 595, some of them that were coming in, materials go up. They have to put a coffer dam out there. I don't believe there's going to be any.
No, Brian, I'm sorry, that's not the point. It said further, in the event the 2020 general fund operating surplus funds are so utilized, then authorization to provide within the resolution is reduced by that amount. So it really doesn't have anything to do with your proposal. It just has to do with unexpended funds from the 2020 budget.
Can I hop in here? It's Darcy.
Sure.
So
Yeah.
that's standard language in our bonding resolutions that we hope to use surplus. Obviously, 2020 isn't going to yield surplus. So the standard language is in there, but at the same time, I would argue that there will be no funding, cash funding that could be put towards this project.
Oh, all right, because I just was concerned about the programs that were cut in the 21 budget. And but if there's not going to be any surplus funds left over from the 2020, then it's a moot question. So
Yeah, our standard language says use cash whenever possible first before bonding.
I would like, can I speak? This is Mayor Legislator Kuhn. Hello.
Well,
okay, I guess I can speak. I share Ken's concern, and I don't know that we know what's going to happen in terms of where the sales tax issues are, or any kind of assistance from the federal government, which would provide more cash availability. And I concur with, I agree with Ken's concern. I was going to raise the same one regarding the budget cuts that have happened, particularly in the service sector and all the early retirements that have not been replaced. It may be a standard boilerplate kind of thing for bond resolutions, but I think we're not in a standard or boilerplate budget year. So I share Ken's concern.
Well, again, that's not really a discussion for facilities committee, what we're going to do with that. If there's any extra funds or if there's federal money or whatever, that's a discussion we'll have when that happens.
Yeah, thank you. It was a good question, though. And thank you, Darcy and Dave, for chiming in there. Anything else on this one? Did you have a question? Judy?
Hello, yes.
Okay.
Since last year when we approved money last year, has any work been started over at United Shores?
no.
Okay.
Okay, so this will be spring?
Fall of 2021, after Labor Day. Once we get past our busy summer with our fishing tournaments and stuff, the goal is to get this started right after Labor Day.
Okay, I see. Yep. 2022, 23, 24. Okay, other questions? Okay, I believe we need to do a long call on this, so we'll take a vote now.
Yes. Legislators Cody? Oh,
Yeah.
we need a motion. We need a motion, Deb?
Oh, I'm sorry. Is there a motion for this resolution? Can I have a motion?
I'll make the motion.
Thank you, Judy. Can I get a second?
I think Ken Bush is trying to.
Second,
Thank you, Ken. Okay, so now we can vote.
Legislators Cody,
Yes.
Casone,
Yes.
Yoon,
No.
Bush,
yes.
Urban.
Yes.
4 ayes, 1 opposed.
Okay, thank you. Okay, next up, Brian?
Sure. The next one is a resolution that does various improvements in our parks. It's kind of our infrastructure and our rehabilitation account. This $2.1 million asks makes up a bunch of projects that, go towards our infrastructure in our buildings. The Parks Department is pretty vast. We have 13 parks that spread out from Baldwinsville to Fabius, and each one of those facilities has its own buildings and provides direct service to the public. Most of these things on this list are needs. We took a hard look at it, knowing what kind of a budget year we are in, and these reflect actual needs to buildings, and which again would directly affect the service we apply to people we were providing to the public. So in my experience, the longer you let some of these things sit, they fall into disrepair, they become safety issues, and we just want to get on top of those things and either fix some things, get them out of disrepair, eliminate some safety concerns, so we can continue to provide this excellent service that we've been able to the public all along.
Right, thank you. Yeah, it doesn't look like anything fancy here. We got water mains and restrooms and
The roof, windows, stuff like that, yeah.
lighting and some building repair, fences and things like that. So yeah, obviously not anything that, not anything extravagant. And then at Beaver Lake, that's 2020. Several things out there. This covers a wide range of the parks here. Beaver Lake, Highland Forest, Oneida Shores, right? Onondaga Lake Park.
Sure does. All the parks. Yep, all the
All-
parks.
Yep, all over the county. So any questions on any of these projects specifically? No? Okay. Is there a motion then for this resolution?
I'll make it.
Thank you, Ken. Second.
I'll second it, Deb.
Thank you, Judy. Okay, I believe we need another long call on this.
Legislators Cody,
Yes.
Casone,
Yes.
Yoon,
No.
Bush,
Yes.
Urban.
Yes.
4 ayes, 1 opposed.
Okay, thank you. And Brian?
The next one is for lawn crypts out at the Veteran Cemetery. This, in 2021, we're looking for, do some engineering to set up these lawn crypts at the Veteran Cemetery. Eric Stanzik and myself took a trip out to Bath, New York, and visited the National Cemetery. They're the standard out there. Their cemetery is beautiful. And they use these lawn crypts to perform their burials. And what they are is pre-dug holes with concrete slabs in them to accommodate the caskets. They dig them at about 3.8, 3 by 8, which is 24 square feet, as opposed to the 4 by 10 we're doing right now. And the beauty of this is they're all pre-dug in advance, so they're all uniform. It buys us a tremendous amount of more room per acre, up to 700 additional burials per year per acre. And you dig them in the best conditions. So they're all pre-dug. You go out, you dig them uniform. We're not putting heavy machinery around these graves and not so great conditions. So aesthetically, they look fantastic as well. And one of the other big things here is manpower in terms of burials. After these are dug, it only takes a couple guys, probably two staff members to do these burials. Whereas now, sometimes it takes up to 3 or 4, depending on it. So it's a win-win all around. We can put more in, aesthetics are better, and it's easier on our staff.
Wow, how can you argue with that? Sounds like, sounds like good. all around. Where did you say that you went and visited? That's kind of the,
To Bath, New York, where the Bath National Cemetery is.
oh, okay. Yep.
Yep.
Here. Got it.
We've talked to some, the Veteran Services Advisory Board on this stuff as well. It's really the way to go.
Wow, cutting edge. Yeah, 700 more per acre. That's a lot to fit in there. Sounds good. Any questions on this one? Okay, is there a motion?
I'll move it.
Thank you, Linda. Second?
I'll second Mary Kuhn.
Thank you, Mary. Okay, we can take a vote.
Legislators Cody,
Yes.
Tassone,
Yes.
Hume,
Yes.
Bush,
Yes.
Irvin.
Yes.
5 ayes.
Thank you. Thank you, Brian.
You got that. Thanks, everyone. Appreciate it.
Take care. Okay, is Archie here for our facility number 3?
I'm here, folks.
Hi, Archie. Okay, whenever you're ready.
Well, good morning.
Morning.
Let's see, I'm not really getting my, let's see.
There you are.
Morning, folks. We're here for a repeat of the resolution that we do every year for on-center improvements. And for those of you that are new to this committee, in 2011, we came up with a plan to make a continual yearly investment of $500,000 into the on-center complex. And the on-center complex includes the convention center, the war memorial, the theaters, and the convention center garage. So we determined back then that a reasonable $500,000 investment into that facility allows us to avoid the large scale investments that we would normally have to do if we let things go for years without maintaining them. Most of these things that we have done are not they're not luxurious stuff. So they're some of those things that you saw a couple of years ago, we did with a separate resolution, and the previous administration brought it to you where we did suites and we did lighting upgrades and we did toilet rooms and we did concession areas and we did veterans exhibits, all in the war memorial. This is more nuts and bolts improvements so that we can extend the life of the facility, and we can always offer a facility that is functioning in the way that we need it to function so that they can market it. We held back this year on actually performing last year's work, as you all know, because we were very suspicious as to what we were going to be able to do in these complexes. We were able to improve the front of the convention center, the outside, the exterior, but I don't know if any of you had seen that, but we did a nice job restoring the broken concrete, the precast bases on the columns. We painted all the structural steel over again. We took a special pressure and acid wash to the face of the building so it looks much more presentable than it did and a lot less aged. This year, a lot of the funds of this $500,000 that we're asking in this year's appropriation is we want to upgrade the security in all 3 buildings, and one of the things that we want to do is rekey the entire facility, convention center, war memorial, theater. That's pretty expensive. We want to improve some of the ADA opportunities within the theaters, and we would like to make some replacements and repairs to the convention center that include updating some kitchen equipment, updating the ballroom. Those are some of the things that we have proposed. If anybody needs any details on those items, please jump in.
Okay, yeah, hopefully we'll be getting back to the theaters pretty soon and the, out on the ice again. So they were doing vaccination. They started out over at the War Memorial. How did that work out over there? Was that pretty accessible and for everyone?
It was. As you know, we would like to be vaccinating more. Our county executive is asking for more vaccine. Keep letting it come to us because we're prepared to do quite a bit more than the supply line is giving us. But that's a separate issue. It was the War Memorial worked out to be a very good site.
Good.
The health department did a great job with emergency management and setting that up to make it accommodating to everybody. And I myself, walked over there a couple of times and I saw that they were being very accommodating, especially to the mobility impaired and the elderly. So they were, the folks that were working over there, they did a very good job. We had to move the vaccination site from the War Memorial over to the convention center just yesterday, over the weekend, and it kicked off yesterday because we started making ice. The Crunch are actually going to have a reduced season this year.
Oh,
And it
okay.
starts in 3 weeks.
Okay, I wasn't really sure what the reasoning was for moving it. I thought maybe, having it all in one place with a testing center and all that would be more efficient. I didn't realize it was because of the ice.
Yeah, no, the Crunch, if you folks want to take a peek at my crew over there making the ice, I think tomorrow they start with painting the white base coat for the ice. Today they're layering the ice to get a base layer on. But no, we had the NHL and the AHL did come to an agreement with a reduced season, and we've had to accommodate that for them. So we shifted gears.
Great.
Archie, could you provide some detail about what you're planning to do? You mentioned some of the things, but I don't see anything that shows me what you're going to be doing this year.
We didn't in this capital improvement plan. We didn't go into a lot of major detail, and we could have. I know it's kind of a rushed season this year, and I know.
If you could just highlight what you're going to do, that'd be fine.
Sure. So we want to do seating replacements in the Carrier Theater, which will accommodate some ADA opportunities where we don't have them now. We've been talking about this for years, and we do want to do that. In other aspects of the theater, we pretty much have done almost what we have available to us to do ADA improvements with the new elevator that we did in 2012. 2 years before that with the ramping we did to the ladies room and, added the additional ladies room. But unless we do some full scale seating replacements, we can't rearrange those seats to allow for differing preferred seating arrangements. Right now, it's all in one area up towards the back of the Krause-Heinz Theater. And, that's one thing we would certainly like to present for, an opportunity to the public. And the other thing is, we would like to do some keying to all three of the main buildings. And what that requires is quite a bit of study and detail on coming up with a master keyway so that we know hierarchies and priorities of key groups. So we have different levels of security for different types of rooms in all those three buildings. One of my architects is working on that with ASM. But to implement that, we will have to do a public bid. I'll just give you an example. In 2010, we did an estimate for rekeying the Civic Center. And back in 2010, that had a $76,000 price tag. So I would say we're looking at probably double that. It's not as many doors on any one of the buildings that the Civic Center has, but if you combine all of them, it's probably 1.5 times as many doors as the Civic Center has, and we've had some inflation since 2010. And then the balance of that, I think we would look to continue and supplement some of the things that we had talked about with seating replacements in the Crow Science Theater, as well as what you don't see on here is some kitchen equipment replacements that they need in the convention center, to continue to have the good full service food service that they have.
Okay. Thanks, Archie.
Okay, yeah, thank you. Thanks for that. Other questions?
As you can see, not to jump in, but as you can see, we really held back on any other capital asks for, out of my department. We really restrained ourselves because this year is going to be certainly a tough year. We don't want to incur any other debt. This is an ongoing investment that we didn't want to interrupt, so that we lost the momentum and the continuity with it. But I'm gonna suffer through all the rest of the things that we need for another year, and come back to next year for our normal capital requests.
Right, again, just like with parks, we're not looking at anything fancy or luxurious here. These are some needed improvements, and hopefully we'll be able to take advantage of them very soon as we get reopened here. Any other questions or comments for Archie? Okay, is there a motion on this one?
I'll make it.
Thank you, Ken. Second?
A second.
Thanks, Judy. Okay, we can vote on this one.
Legislators Cody,
Yes.
Tassone,
Yes.
Yoon,
No.
Bush,
Yes.
Irvin.
Yes.
4 ayes, 1 opposed.
Okay, thank you.
Very much, folks.
Thank you, Archie. Thank you, Brian. Thank you, everyone, for being here. And if there's nothing else anybody
Yeah,
has.
the library.
Mm.
The library.
Yeah, we should have someone on from the library now.
On.
Hi, folks. Hey, folks, sorry about that. I apologize. I'm sorry. I appreciate your time, and I'm sorry for the miscommunication and for having to reschedule.
It's over to the side, and okay. You're here now, so how you doing? You well?
Good. How are you? Thank you. I'm
Oh,
Kristen
thank you.
Zabriskie. I'm the Executive Director of the Public Library.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Okay, so Bookmobile, you want to go?
Would. So I just want to speak quickly to the Bookmobile and kind of what it is and what it looks like, as the expense both here and what it would mean for us. A good way to think of a Bookmobile is it is literally a mobile library that can go around the county. It can do outreach to specific locations like senior centers, summer camps, if there are libraries that are closed due to any kind of building issues and that kind of thing, then the Bookmobile can drop into that. It allows us to reach deep into the county, into areas that may be a little bit of a library desert. There's an idea that, we do have great library coverage in the county, but there are a couple of spots that, communities maybe could get a little bit more service. And the idea is that, when they come in with technology. They can do programming. You can do children's story time. I've done a lot of time on Bookmobiles myself. I've been on them myself. Some of the most important work that I did on them was after Hurricane Sandy, when Queens Library really kind of centered their library service to a disaster center using the Bookmobile itself. So they're really incredibly flexible, useful, powerful tools. And so I kind of would like you to think about it that way. I know that this is an ask, and this is an ask in a difficult time. But the way that we're asking, this is for a long-term purchase. This is, library bookmobiles are not off the rack kind of thing. Each one is custom built. Each one is designed by the user to do what they need and what they want best. So if we allocate these funds, understanding that the library is on a little bit of a staffing constriction right now, we are not going to be actually seeing this tool, for some months, possibly upwards to a year or a little bit more. The process on this is a long-term process. So we will not be incurring any staffing issues or any kind of extra costs for this until that is delivered to us. And then once that is delivered to us, we've already gone through the books a little bit and gone through our staffing structures, and we feel very confident we can staff it and run it on the current budget that we have for next year. So this is an important tool. It has long-term impact. I've ridden around on bookmobiles that are 40, 50 years old and still giving good service. And this would be, I think, a powerful addition to our ability to serve our county.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Does anyone have any questions about the bookmobile?
I do. This is Mary Kuhn.
Hi, Mary.
Hi.
Hi there. Thank you, Kristen. I really appreciate your presentation, and I love the idea of a bookmobile. And when it was proposed before, I was very much in favor. My questions are, again, relative to the kind of disaster of the budget that we've been dealing with because of the pandemic. And the 260 does seem to include another librarian, librarian assistant, and library clerk, 2 library clerks. Is that, I thought you said you don't need that.
No, ma'am, no. That is actually all covered within the existing OCPL operational budget for 2021. That 260 is for the bookmobile itself. The other staffing issues are not that case. And we are going to be bringing back staff. So we will be able to absorb it and be able to roll out with the staffing that we had, prior to the last round of furloughs. I really see this as a vote for hope. This is a vote for things that are going to be better. Things are going to be different. And it's a long vision, but it is a vision of hope to me. But no, ma'am, that 260, we actually very specifically call out that this is the other funds will be pulled from our existing operational budget. We've been working very hard to make that possible.
So a follow-up question on that. It's good to hear, because again, I like the idea of a bookmobile, but right now our city libraries have been pretty inaccessible to students who are still doing a lot of distance learning. So I guess relative to that, where are we with having the funds to get our current city libraries particularly reopened, or at least, like on a reservation basis, like a lot of the county libraries have been able to do, limit the numbers, but at least allow people in. Where are we at with that?
We're in pretty good shape on that, ma'am. We've made some pretty aggressive changes based on, again, some of the staffing changes that have been necessary. We've gone to kind of a split model where libraries are open kind of every other day is essentially what it is. And we have one staff that will move between 2 libraries to provide that service. We've been closed mostly because of public health concerns, and that's what remains, why we are remained closed at this point. We've been talking with the county about opening as soon as our public health department is comfortable with that, and as soon as we can move forward on that. We have PPE in place, we have breath guards in place, our staff have masks, our staff have face shields. So at this point, we really are just kind of working out the best practices in public health. A lot of our suburban libraries have restricted services back down to curbside again. And I think our hope is that, really in the next month or so, we will be able to open that up. We're also exploring something, working through another revenue line. We're not asking for any money on this, but it is kind of an interesting update for what you're saying. We're actually looking at increasing the Wi-Fi footprint so that each of our libraries will be able to, people will be able to sit outside the library or sit in their car, or be in the parking lot, have a wider impact, a wider circle, even when the library itself is closed, ma'am. So we're very aware of that. I'm very aware of that, and we are working hard to find answers to that.
Great. So once the health department feels that it's reasonable to expand services in terms of, again, limiting people, but not having it just curbside, you have the staffing to be able to do that at this point?
Yes, ma'am. Yep. Well, we've had to reconfigure our staffing. Again, like I say, we've gone to this kind of every other day thing, but we're actually better staffed than we have been in a while. Because of that, we built in a degree of elasticity so that if a kid is, if your kid's sick or, somebody in the staff has a COVID isolation, necessity or that kind of thing, we're able to absorb that and frankly, better able to absorb it than we have been in a while using this kind of reconfiguration and this remodel. But, we're working very closely with county. County has been incredibly supportive of the library through this change and through this time. We've had great leadership, which has been really supportive of us, and we're going forward with that now.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, ma'am.
Great, thank you. Well, that would be good news, yeah. If we can get that going in a month now that we're getting the vaccine out and things are opening up a little bit. The suburban libraries, they're just back to curbside right now. They're not doing the appointments anymore.
It's very much on a case-by-case basis, but many of them have gone back to curbside. I think Baldwinsville, which was the first one to open, Meg Van Patten is a real firebrand out there. She's really something. Their director out there. I believe they've remained open, but I think they may be just about the only one in the county who has. A lot of the libraries who have reopened, or as I said, we've all been opened. But open their doors, been accessible where people have been able to come in, been able to use the physical space. A lot of them have restricted that back up, and I actually just got off the phone before I came in here talking to one of our member library directors at one of our really great libraries in the county who is looking to that too. They're kind of looking for what the guidance is on when they can start expanding out and opening up again.
Great, yeah, hopefully we'll be getting good news from here forward. And that's great news about the Wi-Fi footprint. We know a lot of folks need that, and they're pulling into wherever they can to try to pull in some Wi-Fi. So that would give some more options.
Yes, ma'am. We were allocated some federal funds from the state library and worked with our member libraries in the county, and kind of everyone felt that developing the infrastructure of the city libraries would be a good use of that funds, kind of in the best interests of the county as a whole, the county libraries as a whole.
That's
Deb, it's Brian Donnelly. I just wanted to let you know we're meeting with the health department this week and hope to have some news on the city branches and their status by late this week, early next week.
And just a shout out to the health department. They've been reviewing all of our materials. They've been incredibly responsive. They've been great to work with, and we really appreciate that.
That sounds good.
Thank you.
We have the best health department ever.
Man, we should do.
You may remember back when we did the layoff resolution, we specifically encouraged furloughs, and the library was specifically what we had in mind with that. So that as opposed to eliminating positions, and that would require legislative action to recreate the positions, particularly in the library where we knew we were going to be bringing these people back. The furlough option was absolutely the best way to go, so we could react very, very quickly. And as soon as we get the word, we can reactivate those employees. So that actually worked out very, very well.
We really appreciate that. We've actually discovered that a couple of specialties have been forced to be furloughed, and I'll really appreciate it because I'm doing some very, very nuanced, very nerdy library work that normally other people do that I will be very glad to not be doing anymore.
A question, Christian. A while ago, we had some like backpacks that we gave to students. Do we still have those out, or do we have more to send out, or how?
Oh, we absolutely have them out. They are out, and they have been in use throughout the crisis. They've been a major lifeline for folks throughout the crisis. They have been very much in use and very engaged. We actually just purchased some more, I think, with a group with the Literacy Alliance, and we're going to be working with them. I'm not exactly sure the details on that, but I know that we have some more coming in and coming through the pipeline. That may be going to some kind of specific bodies, some specific high need groups that other agencies are working with that we're partnering, but that is still very much a mandate for us. Yes, ma'am. And we are, those things have been a lifeline for a lot of people through this.
Oh, that's great. Thank you.
In the rural libraries, those are booked months in advance.
Absolutely.
I bet. Yeah.
Is that the hotspots still available for borrowing, or is that what you're talking about?
It's actually, it's kind of a combined package. We've tried to do the hotspot thing, loaning out the hotspot. Just the hotspot itself kind of doesn't really do everything that we need with it. Because the nice thing about a hotspot is you can then, Johnny can put his phone on it, Jenny can put her tablet on it, and we still have the laptop. It's a lot more powerful if you actually have it kind of as one unit with the laptop, with a hotspot. It really generates that kind of, space of work for people.
Thank you.
It comes in a backpack with a hotspot and a laptop.
Yeah, it's a complete package. It's a hell of an idea, and it's been really great. And the support from the county executive has been really meaningful on this. It is directly. I mean, you want to talk about the digital divide and giving people a pipeline into into connectivity. This is it. It's really great stuff.
So going back to the bookmobile, Christian.
Yes, ma'am.
So you say that if we approve this year, how soon will we have it up and running?
Probably about a year.
Okay.
There's I think it's a 10-month process, soup to nuts. As I say, these are not off the rack items. I'm not going down to Bob's Bookmobile lot and saying that's the one for us. We'll be looking a lot at design work as well. We're going to want to do a wrap on it. My preference would be to do that through a local vendor. So we'll be trying to find a local vendor, somebody in central New York who can wrap something this big after we do the design work on it. We'll need to work out, bookshelves versus, what the awning is, all these kinds of things. So what I like is this gives us, again, the big thing that I've learned in my time here during COVID is elasticity is essential, right? So I think that this gives us the elasticity to get forward on it, get the order in, have it being created while we regain our strength a little bit, and then roll out and start getting this thing out there for people.
Could you give us some other libraries that have bookmobiles so that we could make a comparison to see how they work in other communities?
Certainly, sir. I mean, we don't have one here in Onondaga County, and none of our member libraries have one. But I worked for years with Queens Library. Queens Library had 2 bookmobiles, I think. I did a lot of work on those, mostly for libraries that were either closed. We did them for like special outreach to special populations. Seniors, they're a big deal for seniors because you can really bring like a library to a group of people who have very low mobility, that kind of stuff. And then we used them, as I say, we used it a lot after Sandy.
What about Finger Lakes? What about Monroe County?
Honestly, sir, I don't have that in front of me. I'd be happy to do the research for you, but they are very much a standard tool of equipment. I know that when I started my career in Leon County, we had 2 of them on the road. I'm not sure, and I could do a quick search for you. But
they do have them in. They have one in Monroe County and Erie County in Buffalo.
Thank you, Mark.
Okay, and so, I mean, bookmobiles it's not a new idea. They've been around, but I just get the sense that they're not as vital in providing services as they once were because of technology. And it seems like with the limited resources we have, that you would be using every dollar you have to get the technology up and running to reach underserved people. And the Wi-Fi in the parking lot, for example, is a no-brainer. I mean, that should just be automatic. And then to add additional costs like this bookmobile will do, when you're so limited in your staffing as it is now, I don't see how you can. I mean, you're understaffed from what I understand, and then you're going to take staff and put them into a new program. What's going to happen to the programs that you're taking those people away from?
We are understaffed now.
Donnelly, they're not taking anybody away from any staff this year. You're confident that they can do it within their operating budget, and they won't be putting this into effect until probably 2022 with the lead time on the equipment. They feel that they can use the existing staff. It's an extension of the library. I think the Bookmobile is a great idea, and I think it's going to allow them to reach communities that aren't currently being reached.
Well, give us an example.
I can give you some actually. I mean, I don't want to do a counterpoint. I absolutely see where you're coming from. You're right. This is not new, right? But it's a very tried and true tool. As part of the conversation around this, unfortunately, I don't have this folder right here. I actually read quite an extensive article that came out from the Urban Libraries Council, I believe, that was about the new Bookmobile, and that bookmobiles are having a renaissance. Technology, you're absolutely right, is a major thing, but technology is more than just putting a backpack in somebody's hands. It's having tech classes. It's having a Wi-Fi footprint. It's having a space where I can teach a senior how to use their backpack, that, you know, their laptop that their grandkid bought them, that they want to see children, you know, pictures of their great grandkids on, right? So it is that the library becomes, you know, embedded in the community and flexible in that is really where it's at. So the old school thing of like a bunch of kids trotting onto the bookmobile in a happy little line and then going off, yeah, you're right, that is old news, but that's not what we would be doing with this.
Okay, thank you. Obviously, Ken, some good questions there, good information. Thank you for the whole presentation. I know we have talked about this before. This has come before us before. And I think in light of, you know, questions and maybe more information, other examples from other counties, and just the timing of, you know, with everything going on, you know, budget wise and all of that, that this may not be the time to consider this. So I don't think we're going to take a vote on this today. I think we'll think about this and discuss it a little bit more and look at the timing issues and kind of go from there, if that's acceptable. Okay.
We're not going to take a vote on whether to move it, or we're just going to move it to another month?
Yeah, I think we're just not going to take a vote on it today. We'll see if we can get some of those examples that Ken asked for and some other information that people want, and also to see, I mean, if you're reopening in a month and, you know, just with everything else that's going to be happening and your staffing issues and the rest of those things, how this will, you know, potentially fall into place later on. So, but thank you for the presentation, and we'll just talk more about this in the future.
Thank you very much. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Take care. Okay, now I think we've gotten through the whole agenda here. So if there is nothing else, we can adjourn for the day. Thank you, everybody, for being here, and meeting is adjourned. Thank you.